Hey folks, I'm Papa Boris and I'm very excited because Stage 4 of the 2025 Through the Ages World Championship has just started. In this highly self-indulgent, long, rambling video, we'll do a quick refresher on the rules of the stage. We're going to take a look at my opponents and do some scouting, and we're also going to take a trip down memory lane and see how our friends are doing in the tournament. And if all that sounds totally pointless, yep, all the links are in the description if you want to check things out for yourself, but let's go ahead and hop to it if you want to join me for this interlude. Stage 4 is very similar to Stage 3. As far as the lower bracket goes, nothing has changed. Another 75% of the lower bracket has been sheared off. There are now half as many groups as there were. Not a quarter, because of course there are also people from the upper bracket who were moved into the lower bracket. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot of safe spaces left to hang out. Everyone here now is pretty darn tough. The upper bracket is different. In Stage 3, in the upper bracket, the fourth player from each group is eliminated from the tournament. You have to get second or third to stay in the tournament, moving down to the lower bracket. Now, however, if you make it to Stage 4 of the upper bracket, you are guaranteed a trip to Stage 5. You cannot be eliminated. Second, third, and fourth all go to the lower bracket of Stage 5. Stage 4 is also notable for the fact that after this stage, no new players will be seeded to the tournament, so all the finalists from last year, they are now in the upper bracket of Stage 4, and if you manage to do that well, you actually are guaranteed to go to Stage 5. So it's kind of a cool perk for doing well in the previous year's tournament. Now let's take a look at who I'm playing against. I was really wondering because there's some very tough players in the lower bracket. In fact, one of the top 20 players in the world, the tournament organizer, Pahada here, got upset in the upper bracket of Stage 3 and is now tossing around in the lower bracket with some folks. I was actually kind of hoping to play with him because I think that would have been cool since I'm not likely to make it through this stage anyway. I think it would have been awesome just to play against someone really strong, but alas, it was not to be. However, let's go ahead and meet Rove Random, or perhaps Rover and whatever Parsley, and David Segoviano. I like how the first two are kind of like random names, like whatever, random. Anyway, let's take a look at their ratings. A quick word here, we're now not using the spreadsheet anymore, but we're using the TTA rating site, which is maintained by Ruby Booby. Thank you, Ruby Booby, for your service, and also thanks to Weidenbaum for letting me know about this website. It's a very cool site. It makes it really easy to look up people's ratings. I do want to talk a little bit about this thing, though. There is this conservative rating, which is what determines the ranking, but there's also estimated rating, and I think I severely underrated myself previously because I was using conservative rating. I have since discovered that in the Through the Ages subreddit, there is some spirited debate as to whether conservative rating should really be used. I'm going to be using estimated rating from now on. I do think this gives a better measure, especially when you're like me and haven't played many tournament games. There's not really, in my opinion, a reason to go all the way down to 1509. That's just like the lowest I could possibly be according to the algorithm, but I don't think I'm probably actually at that level. And to the extent that, well, maybe I am just lucky and this is an inflated rating from the fact that I haven't played too many games, well, sure, you can just kind of subjectively take that into account when you look at the person's opponent's column, but I don't think there's any reason to judge by conservative rating. Anyway, that's just my opinion. So in this group, I think, honestly, as far as Stage 4 goes, I'm pretty lucky. There are players in the 1800s ratings here in the lower bracket. There's people in like the top 100 of the ratings board. So the fact that I got no one rated above, the middle 1700s is honestly about as lucky as you can get. And there's even a player here who is a little bit rated below me, although this is very, very close, pretty much close enough to be inconsequential. And it's worth noting that all of my opponents have a lot of tournament experience. All of these guys have played over 500 tournament games, and Mr. Random here is certainly not random in what he chooses to do with his spare time. This person has almost played 1,000 tournament games, so it's going to be tough. I don't think I'm favored by any stretch of the imagination to survive this group. I will be very, very happy if I can get second place. If, I get third place, I'll be satisfied. Fourth place, it was still a wild trip, and I'm glad to have had it. But we'll see if we can get second place in this group. I think for me, that would be an accomplishment I would be very, very proud of. Okay, so that's what's happening in my group. Let's go ahead and take a trip down memory lane If we look back at our first group here, the very, very first stage of the tournament, back when I was very green around the ears and had no idea what was in store, we played against our dear friends Sakic, Gangwon Teacher, and Sheeter. And as we talked about before, Sheeter was unfortunately knocked out in stage 2 because Sheeter ran up against a really strong player in his group. I probably wouldn't have survived stage 2 against that player either. But what's happening with Sakic and Gangwon? All right, well, let's see. In stage 2 of the tournament, Gangwon did not manage to win his group being in the upper bracket. Here's what happened to Gangwon in stage 3. He won. This was notable not just because he managed to win all 3 two-player games, coming back from being third in the ratings after the 4-player games, but he actually also lost his first two-player game of the tournament. So despite not winning the upper bracket in stage 2, he won all 3 of his two-player games, and that was also the case in stage 1. Even though Sakic won the group, Gangwon beat Sakic head-to-head. So Gangwon seems to be a bit of a two-player specialist, although his one loss came against Biznev, which was interesting because Biznev got 80% of his entire points for the stage, beating Gangwon in the two-player game. So I'm not sure what happened in that game. It was, close-ish. It was a 22-point gap. So I've never looked at it, so I don't know. But it's kind of funny that Gangwon took his one two-player loss of the entire tournament to probably the weakest player he's faced in the tournament. But he still had a very strong performance and held the group and is now hanging out in stage 4 with me in the lower bracket. Here is Gangwon's 4-player, or stage 4 group. I don't know any of these players. I haven't seen them before. Let's take a look at their ratings. In his group, Gangwon, I would say, probably got less lucky than me. There is a player rated above 1,800, which is like basically 50 points higher than the highest rated player in my group. This is one of the top 100 players in the world by conservative Glico. And Gangwon's also the baby of his group. So he's got a bit of a tough road to hoe, but he's really good at two-player games. So if he can do that and kind of hold steady, he can at least put in a solid performance. I'll be watching his group with great interest. Now, Sakic has been on a heck of a journey. I don't remember how much of this I covered in the Stage 3 interlude video. This is Sakic's second stage. He was in the upper bracket. Scipio is one of the almost top 100 rated players in the world, and Sakic held his own against him. Sakic actually beat him coming out of the 4-player games and tied him on the 3-player games. Unfortunately, Scipio won their head-to-head, and that was decisive. So Sakic got second place with a staggering 29 points in the group, which is usually enough to win a group. It's really unlikely that you get 29 points and don't win. And sadly, because of this, he was relegated to the lower bracket. Or he should have been, but he wasn't, because someone who got to stay in the upper bracket ended up dropping out of the tournament. And at that point, the person with the most points who had second place in the upper bracket got to stay in the upper bracket, and that was Sakic. Out of all the second places in upper bracket of stage 2, Sakic scored the most points. Unfortunately, this is where Sakic's tale takes a dark turn, because in stage 3 of the upper bracket, Sakic unfortunately was not quite able to hang on. Kajito is one of the top, almost 50 players in the world, and El Chupacabra is another very strong player, not far off from the top 100 mark. So Sakic, was really up against it. Maybe his best bet was trying to beat DB Starman, but unfortunately for Sakic, although DB Starman lost all 3-player games and didn't do great in the 2-player games, he just somehow came up with some sort of inspiration and crushed these 2 stronger players in the 4-player games. He was leading the group after the 4s, but you can kind of see the skill level disparity. Despite that lead, he still ended up getting only 3rd. But because of this, and because Sakic unfortunately had a rough time in the 4-player games, losing both of them, he wasn't able to hang on to 3rd place. I would have loved to see him with me in the lower bracket of stage 4, but alas, he has been knocked out. So it's just me and Gangwon representing. Right, Group 43, represent, whoop whoop. I wish you the best of luck, Gangwon, and I'll be back in, depending on the speed of my group, a week or 2 weeks probably, with the replays of my Stage 4 games. Stay tuned, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and happy gaming out there.